1954, a kitchen in Ohio. Friday supper time. He sits down to pork chops, buttered potatoes, green beans from the garden. She sets his plate, then sits across from him with a scoop of Breakstone's cottage cheese, 3 rings of canned Del Monte pineapple, and 1 leaf of iceberg lettuce. She does not reach for the pork chop. She does not explain. She has been eating this way since the honeymoon. These are the eating habits that kept a 1950s wife's figure intact. Most of them were killed on purpose. Between 1970 and today, eating occasions in the average American household exploded, shifting from distinct meals to near constant snacking. This was not accidental. Food companies knew every new eating occasion meant a new sale. Dedicated snack aisles did not exist in 1952. By the late 20th century, snack foods had become some of the most profitable items in stores. These women lived before that engineering. Their discipline came from the kitchen and the mirror, not a package. Number 15. She ate a different meal than her husband. She cooked a full dinner for him and served herself something else entirely: a diet plate, a salad, a cup of broth and crackers. 2 plates side by side on the same table. His had pot roast, mashed potatoes from a Pyrex dish, green beans with a strip of bacon. Hers had a scoop of cottage cheese at 19 cents, canned peach halves at 27 cents a can, and 1 leaf of lettuce on a salad plate. The sound of his fork scraping the plate, the lightness of hers. She did not announce she was dieting. She did not ask for sympathy. She ate what she allowed herself and passed the serving dish his direction without a word. She fed her family from love and fed herself from discipline. That was not oppression. That was the most private form of willpower a woman could practice. But that diet plate did not start at supper. It started first thing in the morning, with a ritual half the country followed before the coffee was even ready. Number 14, the grapefruit, half at breakfast. Millions of women ate half a grapefruit before every meal, sometimes as breakfast itself. The Hollywood 18-day diet of the 1930s made it gospel. By the 50s, it was simply what women did. A sun-kissed grapefruit for 5 cents at the A&P, cut in half on the wooden cutting board. A serrated grapefruit spoon from the silverware drawer, a light sprinkle of sugar if she allowed herself that much, the tart bite that woke the mouth before the first sip of coffee, pink juice pooling in the hollowed rind, the slight bitterness on the back of the tongue. She ate it standing at the counter most mornings while the percolator worked, not because someone told her to, because she decided to. The science was wrong. Grapefruit does not burn fat. But the habit was right. She started every day eating something bitter and low calorie and calling it enough. That is not a diet. That is a decision made before the sun comes up. And that coffee she sipped beside it had rules of its own. Number 13, black coffee, no cream, no sugar, no discussion. Women drank their coffee black, not always because they preferred it, because cream and sugar were calories she could not justify. Maxwell House or Folgers, percolated on the stove, the aluminum pot bubbling on the burner before dawn, the smell of it reaching the bedroom before the alarm clock did. She poured it black into a ceramic mug, no flavored creamer, no whipped topping, no $4 latte with syrup and foam. The average specialty coffee order today contains over 300 calories. Her entire breakfast was less than half of that. She drank the same bitter cup every morning for 40 years and never once asked for something sweeter. Today, the average American spends over $1,200 a year on coffee. She spent about $18 a year on a tin of Folgers and asked for nothing more. Vanity had a cost. She paid it 1 sip at a time. But coffee was not the only thing she swallowed before a meal that had nothing to do with hunger. Number 12. The vinegar tonic before meals, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water, swallowed before sitting down to eat, believed to suppress the appetite and settle the stomach. Heinz apple cider vinegar, 23 cents a bottle, 1 tablespoon and 8 ounces of water in a juice glass, the sharp smell that hit the back of the nose, the wince on the first swallow. She drank it like medicine because that is what she considered it. Some women stirred in a half teaspoon of honey. Most did not bother. The bottle lived next to the stove. It lasted 2 months. Wellness influencers now sell this same habit repackaged in a $12 bottle with a pastel label and a celebrity endorsement. Her version cost a penny a glass and needed no branding at all, just nerve. That vinegar was a gate she passed through before every meal. But the bigger gate was the clock on the kitchen wall. Number 11, 3 meals a day, no snacking, no exceptions. She ate breakfast, lunch, and supper, nothing in between. The kitchen closed between meals, breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, supper at 6. If a child reached for a cookie at 3 in the afternoon, the answer was always the same. You will spoil your supper. The refrigerator was not opened for browsing. There was no snack drawer in the pantry, no bag of chips on the coffee table, no granola bars stashed in the glove compartment. The average American now eats on 6 or 7 separate occasions per day. In 1955, 3 was not a diet strategy. It was how a house was run. The kitchen had hours, and the hours were not flexible. None of these habits had a name. She did not call it intermittent fasting. She did not call it calorie restriction. She did not log a single thing on a screen. She had no app, no coach, no monthly subscription. She had a mirror and a dress she intended to keep fitting, and the understanding that nobody was going to manage her body for her. That was not deprivation. That was ownership. Number 10, the Metrecal meal, the first diet shake in America. Introduced in 1959 by Mead Johnson, Metrecal was a 225-calorie canned liquid meant to replace lunch. A pale tan can with a green label, 99 cents for a 4-pack at the Rexall drugstore, chocolate, vanilla, or butterscotch, the chalky taste of powdered milk and soy flour, thick as a melted milkshake but with none of the pleasure. She drank it cold at the kitchen counter in under 2 minutes while the soap opera played from the next room. Then back to the ironing. Metrecal sold $100 million in its first year alone. Drugstore shelves could not keep it stocked. Women's magazines ran features on the Metrecal lunch as though skipping a real meal were something glamorous. The can is gone. But the instinct that made her reach for it is not. A woman should be able to skip a meal and let no one notice. That instinct is still alive. It just costs $40 a canister now. But Metrecal was for the woman in a hurry. The woman with a little more time used something older, something stranger, and something that wobbled on the plate. Number 9, the gelatin salad. Diet food disguised as a dinner course. Jell-O mixed with shredded cabbage, grated carrots, celery, or canned fruit. Set in a copper mold and served as a salad. Jell-O in lime or lemon flavor at 10 cents a box. Mixed in a Pyrex bowl, shredded carrots and diced celery folded in while still warm, poured into a ring mold and chilled overnight in the Frigidaire, unmolded onto a plate lined with iceberg lettuce, a dollop of Miracle Whip on top, the wobble when you set it on the table. She called it salad. It was appetite control dressed up for company. She made restriction look like hospitality. Nobody at the luncheon table knew they were eating diet food. They thought she was being fancy. That was the entire point. The gelatin was for company. But on an ordinary Tuesday, when nobody was watching, lunch was something far quieter. Number 8, Melba toast and clear broth, the invisible lunch. Her private midday meal was often a cup of clear broth and 2 thin pieces of Melba toast. Fewer than 100 calories. She called it lunch and said nothing more. Devonshire Melba toast rounds at 25 cents a box. A cup of Campbell's beef consommé heated on the stove cost 15 cents a can. There was the thin crunch of the toast between her teeth, gold-colored broth in a teacup, sometimes a squeeze of lemon. She ate at the kitchen table in 10 minutes, then washed the cup and saucer before anyone came home. She did not photograph this meal. She did not call it a fast. She did not congratulate herself for eating less. She just did it and moved on to the next task. There was no audience for her discipline. She was the audience. Not every form of appetite control came in a teacup. One of the strangest came in a candy box. Number 7, AIDS-reducing Plan Candy, a chewy, caramel-flavored candy taken before meals to dull the appetite. It was sold in a box like chocolates and was one of the top-selling diet products of the 1950s and 60s. It came in a brown and gold box for $1.49 at the drugstore counter in chocolate fudge, butterscotch, or vanilla flavors. It relied heavily on a dose of phenylpropanolamine to dull the hunger signal, convincing millions they could chew their appetite away. She ate 1 or 2 squares 30 minutes before supper with a hot cup of coffee. The waxy sweetness coated the tongue, the slight numbness that followed. The box sat on the kitchen counter openly, not hidden, not shameful. Advertisements in Good Housekeeping and Ladies' Home Journal promised you could lose weight deliciously. Millions of boxes were sold year after year across every drugstore in America. The name destroyed the brand in the 1980s for reasons that had nothing to do with the product, but the women who bought it in 1957 were doing something quietly radical. They were admitting they needed help staying thin. That kind of honesty is harder to find now than it was then. The candy managed appetite, but the next habit managed something more basic: how much food she allowed on her own plate. Number 6, the ladies' portion. Her plate was always smaller. She served herself less than her husband. Not leftovers, not scraps, but deliberately, visibly less. His plate was a full dinner plate at 10 inches across. Hers was the salad plate at 7 inches. She took 1 pork chop, he took 2. She filled half her plate, he filled his to the rim. She did not take seconds. She passed the bowl and said, "There is more if you want it." She never said that to herself. At Thanksgiving, her plate looked like a sample tray. His looked like a celebration. She did not need a calorie counter. She needed a 7-inch plate and the will to stop when the plate was clear. That small plate was a promise she made to herself 3 times a day, and she kept it. Notice what is missing from every single one of these habits: a label. She did not say she was doing keto. She did not say she was on a cleanse. She did not post about a journey. Her restraint was invisible. She sat at a table full of food she had cooked with her own hands, and she simply took less. Every meal. Without announcement, without credit, without applause. The most effective diet in American history had no name, no book, no author, and no subscription fee. It was just what a woman did when she decided that keeping her word to herself mattered more than keeping her plate full. Number 5. She tasted while she cooked, but rarely sat down to a full plate. She spent an hour over supper. She tasted the gravy, checked the roast, sampled the pie filling. By the time the table was set, she had eaten just enough to take the edge off. A wooden spoon lifted to the lips from the pot of beef stew, a thin sliver of roast carved from the end before it reached the platter, a fingerful of pie crust dough pinched off while she rolled it. She seasoned by mouth, not by measurement. The tasting was part of the cooking and part of the discipline. She arrived at the dinner table half full, and nobody noticed. She fed herself in secret, in small bites over a hot stove. Then she sat down with her family and took almost nothing. That was not disorder. That was the economy of a woman who gave everything to her table and kept the margins for herself. But what happened after the plates were cleared mattered almost as much as what was on them. Number 4, the after-supper walk, movement that never called itself exercise. After supper, she walked around the block, to the neighbor's porch, up and down the sidewalk while the children caught fireflies in a jar, the screen door banging shut behind her, crickets starting up along the fence line, the smell of fresh-cut grass from 2 yards over, neighbors on front porches lifting a hand to wave, a half-mile loop in house shoes or canvas flats, no headband, no pedometer, no heart rate zone, no gym membership at $40 a month. She walked because the dishes were done and the house was warm and she needed 10 minutes of quiet air. She came back, checked on the children, brushed their teeth, put them to bed, and the eating was done for the day. She burned calories without ever using the word. She moved her body because it felt right, not because a screen told her to. The walk was the period at the end of the day. Nothing more went in after that. Number 3, the kitchen closed after supper. Once the dishes were washed, the kitchen was finished for the night. No late bowls of cereal, no pantry raids at 10 o'clock. The light went off and the room did not reopen until morning. And if the walk was the period, the next habit was the lock on the kitchen door. Dishes scrubbed in the enamel sink, dried with a flour sack towel and stacked in the cupboard. The cast iron skillet wiped and set back on the stove, counters wiped with a damp rag, crumbs swept off the formica, the overhead light clicked off. If hunger came at 9, she ignored it or drank a glass of water or went to bed early. There was no fourth meal, no midnight snack. The Frigidaire hummed in the dark and nobody opened it until daylight. She fasted 14 hours every single night and never once used the word. The kitchen had a closing time, and closing time was not up for negotiation. But discipline alone did not keep her shape. There was one piece of daily infrastructure she wore under every dress that most people have forgotten entirely. Number 2, the girdle. Appetite enforcement you could wear. Beneath her dress, a firm elastic girdle compressed her midsection from waist to thigh. It did more than shape, it was a built-in portion limiter. Playtex or Form-Fit Rogers, $3.95 from the Sears catalog. Used rubber and elastic panels that pulled everything in. She stepped into it after her morning bath and did not peel it off until bedtime. The firm pressure against the stomach. If she ate too much, she felt it immediately. The tightness, the body pushing back against the fabric. She stopped eating when the girdle told her to stop. 2 bites before full, every single time. It was not comfortable. It was not fashionable by today's standards, but it was effective. She wore her discipline the way a soldier wears a uniform, not because she liked it, because the standard was the standard and she met it. Every one of these habits, the smaller plates, the broth lunches, the girdle, the closed kitchen, they all circle one final truth. And it is the hardest one to say out loud. Number 1, she ate last and she ate least. She served her husband first, then the children, then herself, whatever remained. She ate last at her own table and she did it every night for decades. She carried the platter from the stove with both hands. She set his plate down. First, the way she had done since the first week of the marriage. She served the children, spooned the potatoes, cut the younger one's meat, poured the milk from a glass bottle. Then she sat. She took what was left. If there was not enough for a full plate, she ate half a plate and said she was not that hungry tonight. If a child wanted seconds, she scraped from her own plate without hesitation. Her chair was the one nearest the stove so she could stand and fetch more for anyone who asked. Last to sit down, first to stand up and clear. This was not a strategy, this was who she was. She kept her figure not because she counted a single thing, but because she gave everything away first and lived on what remained. She was the last line in the budget of her own kitchen, and she never once asked for more. 15 habits, not one of them needed a Wi-Fi connection, a fitness tracker, or a credit card. They needed a smaller plate, a glass of water, and the willingness to be hungry once in a while without calling it a crisis. Somewhere tonight, a woman is clearing the supper table. The plates go in the sink. The light above the stove clicks off. And the kitchen closes for the night the way it always used to. And if you want more forgotten wisdom from the generations who came before us, the next video is waiting for you right now.